Today, we are going to explain the difference between organic and synthetic nutrients. All right, before we do that, let's give a shout out to Real Growers Recharge. If you want stronger, healthier plants, you got to check out Real Growers Recharge. Bigger roots for bigger fruits over at realgrowers.com. All right, come on, let's get into it now. All right, Hi C, what's up, man? You ready to learn something?
I am. So I already know that nutrients are what feed my plants.
Yep.
But now I'm learning that there's organic nutrients and synthetic nutrients. Can you help me out?
Yeah, it's where they're derived from. And without getting too complicated, a plant doesn't know whether it's being fed an organic molecule or a synthetic molecule, because nitrogen is just a molecule. Mm-hmm. Whether it was derived from organic processes or synthetic processes, you're still feeding the plant that molecule of nitrogen. So it's how it was derived, not what the plant's getting, that really matters.
Okay, so let's start with organic nutrients.
Sure.
And kind of break down what organic nutrients are and the pros and cons of feeding with organic nutrients.
Sure. When I think of organic nutrients, they say carbon-based, but I'm thinking like compost-based things, natural. Think about the way that grass grows, and grass has green, it's got chlorophyll in it, it's got nitrogen in it. Well, if you chop that grass and then you put it in a compost pile, and the compost is loaded with microbes, it's loaded with these tiny little living organisms. So if they eat the nitrogen in there and then they go hibernate in that compost, when we're ready, we can take that compost and put it on our plant, and as long as we have microbial activity in there, it will take that nitrogen that it's stored and deliver it to the plant. I mean, this is how plants have grown for billions of years or millions of years anyway.
So I remember being a kid, and at my grandparents' house, they had a big compost pile that my grandpa would use to kind of mulch in with the garden. And we would put eggs and leftovers and grass and all kinds of clippings.
So grass has nitrogen in it. Those eggs have calcium in the eggshell. So that calcium is held by the microbes, and then it's going to be exchanged for something else in the rhizosphere where those roots meet the soil.
Okay. And so I've seen soil, since we're talking about it,
Sure.
I've seen soil that is organic soil. They said it's charged, which means...
It means that they're either putting, now if it's organic soil, they're charging it with some kind of compost. So maybe they're taking a high nitrogen compost that they got from grass clippings, or they're taking calcium, just like you mentioned with the eggshell, and the calcium they're grabbing microbially, they're putting it in compost, and they're adding that compost to maybe peat or something inert.
Okay, and I've seen compost teas. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, compost teas, you've got all this good stuff that was made available, all the nitrogen we keep on using the nitrogen and calcium, but all those are inside that compost. So if we just use some water, we make it at the right pH, we're able to leach that out. We're able to leach all the good stuff out of there and just use that as a liquid nutrient.
Okay. And then I'm thinking of like an eggshell or a piece of grass. It's got all this nutrient in it, but the plant can't eat an eggshell.
No.
So you were mentioning microbes mixed with organic. Kind of explain that relationship.
Yeah, microbes have to go along with the organics. The microbes are going to convert the inorganic materials. They'll hold them and they'll deliver them, the nutrients, into a way that the plant can assimilate it.
Okay, so they make those nutrients plant available, help get them into the plants.
Yeah, now they need all sorts of microbial help to convert them to a plant available form, an inorganic plant available form, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump to synthetics real quick. Organics come from just natural breaking down of stuff and feeding the plant that way. And then synthetics is...
Your microbes are going to break down those large organic molecules into simple molecules that the plant can digest. And I'm thinking nitrogen is one.
That's with organics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so synthetics, what's the pros and cons of... Well, actually, first, explain how synthetic nutrients are made, and then the pros and cons of using them.
Sure. Synthetic nutrients are made either through chemicals like phosphoric acid, or the nitrogen's actually a really tricky one because it's pulled out of the air. I mean, a nitrogen molecule, you can either have a plant or a bacteria pull it out of the air, or you can have a giant chemical process. They talk about the Haber-Bosch method. They just learned how to do this It's where the agricultural revolution comes from. To pull nitrogen out of the air, it's a tremendous process, man. But yeah, you can make a pure, clean nitrogen molecule that doesn't need any microbial activity for the plant to just suck up. And that's why you can burn your plants so easy when they talk about organics, they're much more safer, people say, because you can put a bunch of nutrient-rich compost around and the microbes are around the plant material or plant area, and the microbes are going to pull what they need. The microbes do this exchange thing where they're grabbing carbon from the plant material or sugars from the plant. The plant can photosynthesize and make sugars. So they'll make these sugars down in the root zone, and then the plant will come the microbe will exchange a little bit of nitrogen or a little bit of calcium or phosphorus or potassium. So it's all kind of regulated, through microbial life.
So a much more natural process with organic. And then you're saying with synthetics, is it more plant available off the bat?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're taking nitrogen. If you just take a straight nitrogen, like a urea or something like that, it's just all nitrogen. I mean, it's very plant available, very easy to burn your plants with. But if you know what you're doing, it's very easy to get those plants to really bulk up. You're not limited by the microtransactions going on in the soil with your microbes mining these little pieces of nitrogen, these little bits of nutrient, exchanging them. All of a sudden, it's just raining nutrient at this point.
Okay,
good and bad.
Speaking of raining, what are some of the cons of using?
Oh, I see what you did there, man. Yeah, there's no bond. When I think about salt-based fertilizers, those are the synthetic fertilizers. They're using salts, is what it is. But there's no, I think of just going to the beach. There's no bond to organic material there. So when I go to the beach and you can go to the showers, you wash yourself off and the salt washes right off of you because it's not bonded. That's the same way that it works in plants, to where if I go put a bunch of synthetic fertilizer on my plants, then I water the heck out of them and I measure the runoff, which as growers, a lot of us do. You'll see it's just going right from your bottle into the garbage or down the sewer, really, where it causes a huge problem, man.
So those synthetics, they don't stick to the soil. They just wash right out. First time it rains, overwatering.
Yep.
You just throw that money down the drain, basically.
Yeah, and cause a problem, by the way. Have you ever seen the big algae blooms? Yeah, that's a big deal. And that's because the synthetic nutrients are the way that they're commonly used is super inefficient. A pure synthetic way of feeding there's a lot of waste, man. It's very inefficient.
Okay, and recharge, you can use recharge with organic. It's got those microbes to help break it down and make it plant available.
Right.
But you can also use recharge with synthetic fertilizers.
Absolutely. We want to build body in that soil. We want to build that soil's ability to hold nutrients, whether it's a piece of salt, just a synthetic made nutrient, or if it's an organic compound. But we want to allow it to hold that nutrient. So the really easy to wash away salt molecule, once it comes in contact with a bacteria, it becomes sticky. And
the bacteria is in recharge.
Yes, the beneficial bacteria that's in recharge. And then that bacteria is alive. Now that bacteria can go and make those microtransactions, say, hey, I'm going to get to that rhizosphere. I'm going to get to that place where the root meets the soil. They got sugars there, man. They don't have nitrogen molecules, but they got sugars there. And I love sugar. I'm bacteria.
Okay, so real quick before we're out of here, is that what you're talking about when you say synganic?
Yeah, synganic is a way to get the best bang for your buck from the synthetic nutrients. Synthetic nutrients are it's all there. It is so easy to work with these things. It is all just waiting for the plant to uptake it. Now, if you don't have any kind of regulator in there, the plant can just uptake too much of it. It doesn't have any choice, and then it burns. If you have all these microbes hanging out in the rhizosphere where that root meets the soil, and they're saying, hey, wait a minute, man, we're waiting for sugars to come up. We're not going to give you any more of our phosphorus over here, our calcium, until you give us some sugars. So here, we'll give you enough, photosynthesize, bring it back, and we'll work this out. It works out amazing. It really does.
So recharge helps. It feels like a plug for recharge, but it helps. It works great with organic growing, and it works great with synthetic growing.
Yeah, absolutely. And without being a plug for Recharge, anyone that's ever put compost on something that they grew with synthetic nutrients, I mean, there's so much of that. People use Miracle Grow, and then when the Miracle Grow washes all away, to keep it from washing away, they'll throw some compost on there. I mean, they do it all the time, and it does work really well. Synganics is really a thing. I love growing synganically, but that's my take. I love Synganics. But what about you? Are you organic, synthetic? Do you do what I do and combine them both? Let me know in the comments. And if you dug this video, please click that like button, click that subscribe, and check out the other couple videos YouTube has recommended for you.